Ben Johnson this offseason in a move that GM Ryan Poles believes will take Caleb Williams to the next level. Well, Ben Johnson spoke to Tom Pelissaro of NFL Network yesterday and talked about how ready Caleb is for next season.
Man, I tell you what, he's hungry. He's hungry. I'm trying to watch the Super Bowl with my family. I made it back to Detroit just for a weekend, and I'm watching this, and my phone just keeps buzzing, and it's Caleb time and time again. You know, what's going on here? What do we think? Oh, that was a cool play. Things like that. And so it's I just know this is a hungry individual that he's ready to get this career started of his, because he's got a chance to be pretty darn special.
Sure does.
I like that. Little Caleb Williams and me. Sometimes I text you during games. Oh my gosh, how fired up are you about this? And you usually don't reply.
Hopefully he's not that aggravating.
You've got a cigar in your mouth. But I don't know. Are Bears going to the playoffs this year?
My guess is they're going to be on the doorstep. I cannot figure out what Minnesota's doing with Darnold and J.J. McCarthy. Detroit's going to be a playoff team. I would say they will be a much more organized, entertaining, offensively liberated team. I think you'll watch. Like I said last year, I picked the Bears for fourth last year. Before the season, I said that the division's too good. I think there'll be a much better offensive version. You will feel at the end of the season or at some time in the middle of the season, oh, they run an NFL offense. They know what they're doing. The offensive line last year regressed so inexplicably because it looked like it was young and getting better, and last year it just circled the drain. My guess is they will attack the offensive line in the draft or free agency. Trey Smith could go there. Keep your eye on that. I think what you want when you get a new coach is a functional offense, because you don't have to be a great defensive team to win in this league. You have to be functional. They were awful last year. You didn't know what you got series to series.
It's going to be tough for them to get to the playoffs. Remember, Niners are going to bounce back. We know McCaffrey's going to come back healthy. We get that. We know Washington, they're not going anywhere. If the Giants get Stafford, I do believe that NFC could be tough for the Bears. 4 teams from the division are not going to make the playoffs. That's not happening. So maybe.
Okay. Never say never. I love how confident we get sometimes in the offseason. Stafford goes to the Giants. Look out, baby. New York Giants, let's go. And who says that Christian McCaffrey's bouncing back? Listen, I want him to bounce back, because when someone's body fails on them, as someone who's had a million injuries, it hurts my soul. So believe me, I hope he bounces back. And I think if the 49ers are healthy, they'll be back to being, legitimate, a playoff team. But I think if you really kind of think about it, now that we have the whole season to, completely start to finish over with the Chicago Bears, and even hearing other certain things like the real lack of preparation, lack of culture, lack of film study, like all that nonsense that was going on in Chicago, which is just, I can't even make sense of, quite frankly. Outside of Ben Johnson just truly being overwhelmed being a head coach and having to run the offense, because it is an extra thing that he's going to have to now deal with, a lot of extra things that he's going to have to deal with. And the Bears really just messing up the draft and some free agency offseason, acquisitions. They just fumble it all, right? And deal with injuries, I just don't see how this team isn't immediately and significantly better. Because again, in hindsight, when you look at some of these games that they had, considering the coaching staff, considering the O-line, considering the lack of run game, considering the lack of readiness to play, quite frankly. I mean, there were so many games where you're just like, does this team want to play right now? What even is this? And this is still at the point where the season is still well in balance. You're just kind of like, guys, anything can happen right now. You're what is this? When you really kind of just look at it, you're like, well, considering how much of a clown show this really was, it actually was pretty not bad. Relatively speaking, everyone, it's easy to harp on Caleb Williams, but considering how everything kind of unfolded, you're like, it's actually technically not that bad. And so now if you get rid of the clown show, you insert Ben Johnson, who has to immediately If that offense was rated, and this is a made up rating, if that offense was a D last year, adding Ben Johnson has to immediately be 2 grades higher. We're not going to say that Ben Johnson is only worth, 1 grade higher or half a grade. I don't care even if it was the exact same team, even with a bad O-line. It's still going to be significantly better. If you think that Caleb Williams was 50 out of 100 with Ben Johnson, to think that he's not going to be able to go up to 70 out of 100, it's like you're out of your mind. Like that's the impact that a coach can have. Not to mention, there is going to be so much belief. Ben Johnson was the hot ticket item, right? He was the coach that everyone wanted. And the Bears got him. And the team knows it. That's why you can even hear it, right? Like Caleb keeps texting. He's hungry. And I love hearing this from Ben Johnson. And I love this intensity and this excitement and kind of like, I'm ready. And I think, and this is what I kind of said before, like the fact that Caleb failed so miserably with the Chicago Bears, whether we want to say him individually or just collectively as a team, it's really just one of the best learning lessons that he can have, because now he's really kind of like, oh, that was not fun. I don't like that. Yeah, I don't like that. He also can really respect and understand the importance of coaching. You get humbled. You really truly get humbled, and it's wildly important. I talked about this with Caleb going into this past offseason, where I was like, the dude has to get punched in the face a bunch of times. Like he does. He has to look in the mirror and doubt himself and feel like I don't belong here. And that's what Tom Brady did. That's what Patrick Mahomes did. That's what every great does. It's what I do. You do. I mean, we all have those moments where we're just like, oh my God, what am I doing with myself? But when you're like 19, 20, 21, 22, you don't always have those moments, because you really do just kind of think you're a god. Your brain's not fully developed. I talk about that all the time. And so he absolutely had to have had those moments where he's just like, oh my God, is my career not going to be? Like, no, it's not. That's not it. I am great. I don't know though, man. Like I feel so off. Yeah, it's fine. And then you have to wrestle with it. And now he gets to wrestle with it with Ben Johnson, who now gets to supply him with answers. He was wrestling all this time with all of this stuff, and he had nowhere to go for answers. Nowhere. And when you are a young, up-and-coming athlete, no matter who you are, you need someone who can give you some answers. And Ben Johnson immediately offers that. Immediately. Along with the energy and the optimism and the hope and the promise of a better tomorrow. So now, like, not only do you have the answers, but now you have the energy to go along with it, and the work ethic to go along with it, and the belief to go along with it. So, I mean, I don't know why we're going to be so quick just to kind of be like, well, this team's going to be good, and this team's not going anywhere. Okay. I mean, watch how fast the Chicago Bears can turn this thing around. Do not underestimate coaching. Do not underestimate coaching, man. Do not underestimate it. And Caleb Williams, he did show us why he was drafted number 1 overall. Did he make some awful mistakes and have really long stretches of poor play? Like, absolutely. No doubt about it. But again, he was lost, and there was no one to give him answers. And considering he was lost, it actually wasn't the worst thing. I mean, when it's all said and done, it actually wasn't the worst. And Ben Johnson's going to make his life easier. And considering, again, how much of a mess this team was, the sheer fact that they even had like a chance to beat the Chicago, to beat the Chicago Bears, to beat the Detroit Lions, to kind of be up there and even remotely compete in these moments. Even a game against the Commanders ages better when you kind of look at it. When you realize that the Commanders went to the NFC Championship game, they took a Hail Mary to lose to that team, and that was hardly a great game. That offense was like, what are you doing? Especially for what was it? Like, Caleb Williams didn't do like anything until like the final like 8 minutes of the fourth quarter, or whatever it was. So like even something as little as that is actually kind of remarkable when you put it in context. So, yeah. Like, you're going to tell me that now with Ben Johnson also, like, now that Detroit Lions, like, they're not going to potentially take a step back, losing both their coaches? Of course they can. Of course they can. Minnesota Vikings, I don't know what they're doing with their quarterback. Are they going to play the game now with J.J. McCarthy? They might. And if they do, you don't think J.J. McCarthy is going to have growing pains? Chicago Bears fans know this very well. Yeah, you're going to have some growing pains. Welcome to the NFL. Okay. And the Packers? I don't know what the Packers are doing right now. I did not like at all what I saw with the Packers this last season. And I was super high on the Packers, and they could never quite get things right. And I'm not going to be able to sit here confidently and say the Packers are going to be a top team. Nobody wants to face them. I don't know. I'm definitely, for me right now, the Packers are very much like, nah, I got to wait and see. I believe in them. I believe in Matt LaFleur. I believe in Jordan Love. I need to see their relationship evolve and grow and feel more unified. I need to see Jordan Love help himself out, and I need to see Matt LaFleur also put Jordan Love in a little bit more simpler, easier to manage situations. And until that happens, I have a big question mark by them. So there you go. And again, like I do believe in the 49ers more because of how they're run and the long-term trajectory, but it's not so clear to me that next year that they're just immediately better. I think their defense will be better, getting Salah, etc. And I do think Brock Purdy is a good operator, so if you have a good enough team around him, he'll be able to, win you some games. But I'm just not going to be so quick just to be like, I don't know. The Bears are they just don't have it. Or I'm going to start naming all of these other teams. No, I'm going to put them in that same category. I'm going to say, yeah, they're going to be competing with these teams. They're going to be competing with these teams. And, if anything, it's going to be more about how quick and how much does Caleb Williams develop and grow this season? Because this should be pretty much, equivalent to his rookie year where we should hope to see him grow and evolve. We should be able to be like from week 6 to week 1, see like, oh, this is something that he wouldn't have done in week 1 or 2 or last year that we're seeing him do now. You want to see that progression continue, as well as can they get this defense back on track? Because it definitely lost its footing when Eberflus left. So get that defense back on track. Like, to me, those are the questions. Because I believe that everything else will come along. I just, it's hard for me to see how Ben Johnson doesn't make that happen. The rest will just be on, well, who is Caleb Williams going to be as an NFL quarterback in the NFL? And when do we really fully get to see it? And will this defense get back on track? You do those things, it's like, why are you not a legitimate team that people are like, oh man, we got to play the Bears, rather than, oh yeah, great, we get to play the Bears. Like, that's, I don't know. So I wouldn't be shocked. So we will see. But I've been loving everything that I've been hearing out of Chicago so far. And like I said before in my previous Chicago Bears video, there should be a tremendous amount of optimism and excitement. And quite frankly, it should be through the roof. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Chicago Bears and Caleb Williams? Do you think that they'll be able to contend for a playoff spot I guess, what did we say? Is it this season or next season? I don't, we're kind of in no man's land right now. This coming season. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.